Chief White House correspondent John Roberts is in Saint-Jean-de-Luz, France. I hope I did that relatively well. John, to you.
Molly, third time's the charm. Saint-Jean-de-Luz, which is about 7 or 8 miles south of Biarritz, where the main G7 is going to be going on. And the leaders have been at dinner now for a little more than 3.5 hours. But you know what they say? If in France, if dinner's less than 5 hours, that's considered fast food. They do have a lot to talk about, though, the leaders, beginning with the global economy. That's one of the things that they're going to be talking about: global security, global warming, including those massive, out-of-control wildfires in the Amazon rainforest, as well as economic inequality. There are a number of African nations that are represented here at the G7 for a couple of sessions. Well, they're talking about how to spur economic growth in Africa and try to bring it up. I mean, obviously not in line with the G7 nations, but try to get it a little more robust than it is now. President Trump is speaking with his fellow G7 leaders at the dinner tonight, and he will do this again at the summit tomorrow, to talk about ways to have the global economy flourish to a greater degree than it has by adopting the same type of economic reforms that he has, and that is cutting taxes and cutting regulation. At lunch earlier today, the French President Emmanuel Macron said, in fact, that he and some other European leaders are considering cutting taxes to see if they can boost their economic growth that way. According to the U.S. ambassador to Germany, Rick Grinnell, the American economy really is the model for the rest of the world. Listen here.
Our economy is the one that's humming, and I hear every single day that German CEOs are racing into the U.S. because of the pro-growth strategies. Look, the German economy is struggling. People are looking at the largest economy in Europe, and they're trying to figure out what to do. And what we're trying to say is, when we go to the G7 and we're supposed to talk about growth, follow us, do what we did.
Now, of course, not everything is coming up roses here at the G7, because there is a lot of concern about the forecast for what the global economy will do as a result of the United States and Japan escalating their trade war. Both countries announced yesterday that they are slapping new tariffs on goods. That'll start September the 1st. China is going to increase its tariffs on $75 billion worth of American goods. President Trump, in turn, is going to up by 5% current and planned tariffs against China. And that's drawing some reaction from some of the leaders here. As he landed, Boris Johnson, the new UK Prime Minister, was asked, will you speak to President Trump about dialing back on his trade war with China? Boris Johnson answering, yes, indeed, I will. And Donald Tusk, who is the European Council president, very critical of the president's approach toward China and tariffs. Listen here.
If someone, for example, the United States and President Trump, use tariffs and taxation as a political instrument, this confrontation can be really risky for the whole world, including the EU. This is why we need G7, and this is why we need our really frank and open discussion also about the intentions. And I hope that we will be wiser after our meeting here.
Dinner's going late. It's already 5 minutes after 11 here on the west coast of France. President Trump will be up early. His first meeting is at 8:15 tomorrow morning. He is having breakfast with the new UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson. He'll also have a bilateral meeting with Shinzo Abe of Japan. He'll meet about the noon time with Justin Trudeau of Canada. Later on this afternoon, he's got to pull aside with Scott Morrison, who is the Prime Minister of Australia. And then, of course, all the G7 meetings in between. So we have got a jam-packed day tomorrow, Molly. We got our running shoes on. We'll be there for you.